Okay, I'm going to call this meeting, school board meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight. We would like to look over the agenda, board members, and would someone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda? As is.
I would make a motion to amend the agenda after the superintendent's report. I would like to just make a brief point of information.
Okay. With that change, would someone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda with Pat's amendment.
Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
All in favor? The motion is carried. We have some commendations for tonight. Tonight we'll start with the middle school. Mr. Claver?
All right.
Start my first one now. Let's call it my parent of the month. That is Mr. Francisco Miranda. Okay, I got some words for him. He can't run away. Okay, we got it. It's our pleasure to recognize Francisco Miranda as Parent of the Month in this school district. Really what we'd like to do is thank you for his commitment to his children, the teachers, and activities. The thing I most appreciate about him is a wonderful supporter of his kids and all the children and all the activities. I appreciate when he goes to games, he's a very positive role model for all our parents, and wants all our kids to have a great experience and wants our teams to do well. Regardless of how busy he is, he's always at all our stuff, finds a way to support us. But the thing that Ms. Gomez and I appreciate most, and I know my office ladies do too, and so does my staff, he's always really great to work with regarding his students. The relationship we have with him feels like a true partnership. So when you call him, he's always going to be polite, he's going to be kind, he's going to ask hard questions, and he's going to want to make sure that we get it all right, and he's going to help us get it right. So it's pretty cool. So it feels like when we call him, it's really a true partnership, and he wants his children and our staff to succeed. It's refreshing to know you can always partner with him to address any needs that his children might encounter. He's truly invested in the success of his children, is willing to do the hard work as a parent to help improve the outcomes of everyone involved. We appreciate that. Congratulations on your honor, and thank you for being such a great parent to your children and all the children in the school district, man. Thank you. I haven't seen Miss Haninger yet. I didn't know if I could get her here or not. You never know with her. So I'm going to read it because it's pretty cool, right? And hopefully she shows up. If you guys don't know Miss Haninger works in our sped room at the middle school, and she's kind of one of a kind, really, if you've worked with her. She's done a job that's a really difficult job. I think if people have worked in the realm of sped before, some of our most highly difficult kids in some regards. Not in terms they're bad kids, it's they just all have needs, right? We all have needs that we have to find a way to address. And the thing that I love about this lady is her capacity, and sometimes the capacity for us as adults to help work with those children. And I think that's probably the best thing she's modeled for me, is the capacity to help those kids. And that regardless of what they're bringing you today is how you figure out a way to love them. And that's the thing I like about her most. And so I'm going to say this and read it to you. Lori's greatly invested in the success of special education programs in this school district, is always willing to take on extra responsibilities when needed. She has included previously offering to take on more students to help ease the caseload of her fellow SPED teachers. She's taken many new SPED staff under her wings and is a wonderful advocate for both staff and students throughout the district. Lori's a hard worker and is willing to take risks to help others. For example, she started an academic intervention class at the middle school to help students who are struggling. So this kids that don't necessarily qualify for SPED services, but are just struggling to access their education. She started this class to help students who are struggling. Some of these students end up qualifying for special education, and many have developed additional skills, and they're no longer needed in this class. She's also willing to be an active participant in the implementation of any school-wide initiative. She really rarely says no. When she does, she has a really good reason for it. And I appreciate that. The dialogue you have with her is extremely professional. She's always amazingly supportive of her colleagues. She always takes time to meet with staff and parents regarding concerns that they have about their students. She's a terrific mentor for teachers and administrators. I've learned a lot from her about the world of special ed and the things we should and should not do, and the things we should just do because they're great for kids. It's willing to Patiently helped them increase their knowledge of special education, was created a culture around her that is safe for students and staff to take risks and grow. She is one of the most nurturing and caring humans you'll ever meet. Her actions, such as making baby blankets for the children born to staff members at NMS, is just one small example of the love she exhibits for kids and others. Congratulations on making the difference in the lives of our students and the staff of Nyssa Middle School and being Nyssa School District Employee of the Month. It's the kind of person she is that I thought we could get her here, but the answer is no. Because she doesn't want the praise, but you got to know that it's one of a kind. It's pretty special. Yeah. We've also got the student of the month would be Alexander Fermin Celedonio. Come on up, buddy. You get a certificate and you get a medal. Hey, you gotta stay here before I read some things about you. Like I had to embarrass Miss Senator because she wasn't here. You're tougher than you showed up. Congratulations. There's lots of stuff here, okay? So the cool thing, Miss Davis, Alex comes to class every day with a smile on his face. He gives 100% in all his activities. The thing I appreciate most about Alex is his willingness to attempt anything I've asked him to do. He may not be completely confident, but he always tries for the answer and volunteers in front of his peers. He's a truly example of a student who does the right thing, even if it's not being watched by an adult. Congratulations on being recognized as Student of the Month. That's from Miss Davis. Miss Fournier said this, it's been an absolute, she wrote a novel, by the way, that's how cool he is. Got me to 2 pages. It's an absolute pleasure to have Alex as a student in my class. Since the first day, he's been worked hard and it's been awesome. Alex works well in class, focuses on his work and trying to do his best. He will always come back to my desk to ask questions, and he actually uses my comments and suggestions to improve his assignments and his understanding. Every assignment in both reading and writing is done with effort and thoughtfulness, often going above and beyond what the assignment called for. For example, Alex chose graphic design as his career research topic because this may be an interesting career for him. He not only did the assignment and then poster, he drew all his graphics rather than printing them and did a wonderful job. Alex works hard to take his work very seriously because he doesn't want to just get a good grade. He wants to understand what he's learning. I appreciate his work ethic. As a student, Alex is quiet and respectful. He listens to class because he wants to know what is going on. Alex is here to learn and takes advantage of the opportunities. Although he's not very talkative, he'll raise his hand to ask or answer a question. He participates in class and pays attention. He's an excellent student, and I'm proud and happy that he's our middle school student of the month. I got one more because there's some good stuff in here. There's like a couple others. Mr. Cisneros said this, Alex Fermin is a stellar student who is doing an amazing job in our class. He's engaging and always willing to help others. When it's time to work with groups, you can find Alex taking the leadership role and helping his peers navigate through their work, ensuring that they all understand the task. Although he's a little on the quiet side, we all know when I can call on him, he's always ready to participate and keep up the good work. There's a whole bunch of other cool things on there, man. Congratulations for a student.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, thank
Mr.
you.
Jackson?
Alrighty. So I'm going to introduce one of our soon-to-be valedictorians. Come on down in there. Get my cold for it. Sorry. And not only valedictorian to be with 4 points, but this is taking difficult classes like physics, college writing, Greek calculus, and some others. And so she hasn't spent much time in my office. I'll just say that. I had to create a folder. There's no name on it just for this purpose. She's never been in my office in trouble. So I want to share what 3 teachers said about her. Now you know the truth. Here we go. Mrs. Vargas says, I enjoyed having Emma in classes last year, both in English 11 and speech and debate. Her work was excellent in both classes, showing thoughtfulness and growth. I have also enjoyed working with her in the National Honor Society and Student Council. Emma is an intelligent, driven, and hardworking student who will achieve whatever she sets her mind to in life. She is caring and compassionate, and she is responsible for getting sources of strength. A much-needed mental health support group started at Nyssa High School. Congratulations, Emma, on your well-deserved honor. That's from Mrs. Vargas. What I love about there is it talks about not only your work ethic, but the character. She is very passionate. Mr. DeLong says, Emma is a great role model for other students in health class. She is always on task and works very hard. It is a pleasure having her at Nyssa High School. That's from Tom DeLong. The last one I'm going to share is from Mr. Lamb. Kind of makes me laugh. Okay. Emma is a great student. She works hard at every aspect of college writing. Emma is early every day to first period and starts by gathering her classmates' notebooks and handing them out. She is very kind. Emma is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and rare. Oh wait, that's the Boy Scout law. But Emma Goldthorpe is all of those things too. She is the best. Jason laughed. And so I want to congratulate her on Student of the Month. She is truly an amazing student, and no doubt that she'll go on to great things. So anyway, Emma Goldthorpe. And then, just wanted to make one acknowledgement. We have Lauren Sapp here as our ASB student body president. She'll be presenting later.
Well, I'll have that be part of my report. So
Okay, so I can't introduce her.
if you wanted.
Also an amazing student, also on track to be valedictorian. Not Student of the Month this time. But yes, it's going to be awesome to have her part of our meetings. So.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn? Welcome.
Okay, I'd like to start off with our kindergarten through second grade student of the month, and that is Elideth, Ariola, and Maya. Elideth, would you like to come up? So Elideth is a second grader in our dual language program, and she is really a student for whom I think the dual language program has been designed and has really taken advantage of putting her Spanish strengths to work to learn English, which is one of the strong points of that program. And this is what her teachers have to say about her. Mrs. Esplin, on the English side of dual language, says Elideth is a hardworking student. She always tries her best, no matter the task. English is still new to her, and she is often shy about speaking, but tries words and phrases when I ask her to. She is learning more English every single day. Elideth is a safe, responsible, and respectful student. She knows the rules in our class and the school and follows them. She asks for help from friends or teachers when she doesn't understand, and that will help her to be successful in school and life. And Mrs. Hellowell on the Spanish side says, as a newcomer to the United States, Elideth arrived as a monolingual Spanish speaker, presenting a big challenge to her education. Since her enrollment at NES and working hard in first grade, she is using the skills she acquired with both her teachers, Mrs. Moody and Mrs. Banuelos, to improve. She's working very hard in second grade and is diligent to do her best in both English and Spanish. Elideth doesn't give up, given she's an English language learner. She comes to school with a big smile and is cheerful in her learning and interactions with her classmates. She follows classroom norms and is a great example for her peers. We see Elideth becoming a more confident learner and continuing to improve academically in English as well as in Spanish. Y también a los padres, gracias por su apoyo a sus esfuerzos aquí en nuestra escuela. Elideth, felicidades, congratulations. Let me give you one more thing. Yeah. One more thing. All right. And our third through fifth grade student of the month is Winston Peterson. Winston, come on up. Winston is also a student in our dual language program. Mr. Morrison, his fifth grade teacher, says Winston has been an outstanding student in the dual language program for the last 2 years that I have had him, as I am sure he was before. In both his fourth and fifth grade years, he's shown the ability to do well in all his work and assignments. He excels in using his Spanish skills in class and is involved in the conversations we have, not just sitting and watching things happen. He follows instructions well and is a leader in many aspects. It is an honor to teach him and watch him grow. And our PE teacher, new to our school, Mr. Tracy, is actually the one who recommended Winston, with strong support from his classroom teacher, says he works tremendously hard at whatever we are doing in class, whether it's during warm-ups or during the game. Winston not only tries his best to improve, but takes the time to help fellow classmates. I have enjoyed having him in class this year. Last week, Winston ran a 7:04 mile. I couldn't believe that he was able to do it that fast, and that certainly is moving, especially for a fifth grader. It just goes to show how hard he is willing to work when he's in class. And I'd like to add, Winston's a member of our Bullpup leadership team, and in that capacity, he has a number of daily responsibilities around the school. He takes the work seriously, he executes it efficiently, and I regard Winston as a trustworthy young man who's doing his part to make this elementary a better place. Parents, just like to thank you for your good work, and Winston, congratulations as our student.
Okay, now we have some visiting patrons. Are we gonna wait on that?
You can have her go.
Yeah, if the families would like to go, there's some refreshments here on the side, and you can go out in the hall and get your picture taken with the about town. And then you're welcome to come back, or you're welcome to leave, whichever. I'll wait this one.
Congratulations.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Sally.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Lauren Sapp, and I'm pleased to be here representing Nyssa High School as this year's ASB president. As ASB president, I'm excited to attend school board meetings and give a report with what we are doing at the high school. As of September 27th, our total student population at the high school is 353 total students. We currently have 100, give or take, of those students participating in athletics. We have 42 students involved in band and choir, and 12 students are currently getting their CTE certifications in nursing and welding. 46 students are currently taking prereqs they need to get into the CTE certifying class, such as shop skills and health careers. We have 11 active clubs. Some of our most active clubs are Student Council, FFA, Key Club, Pep Club, with a few of the clubs that have more than 20 students involved. Being a small school means many of us are involved in multiple clubs and organizations. My goal as ASB president is to have Nyssa High School be a place where every single student is included and every single student wants to get involved. We as Student Council want to hear every student's voices and ideas. Currently, the Student Council is working on building student involvement by planning more student events to appeal all students. In October, we are planning a costume party that we are hoping to get a lot of students here, and it should be great fun. The principals and I will be working on incentives such as a Nyssa High School version of the middle school's no party parties or perfect attendant parties and spirit days throughout the year. In closing, I want to hear from you, the school board. What would you like me to report in the future?
We'd like to hear, what you've told us for one thing, but also please convey some of what we do here back to your student council. And, bring us questions. You all have questions, please ask, because we'd love to hear from you, really.
So the school board is responsible for expenditure of funds, and I know there's high school activity funds that are spent for high school. Mr. Jackman is he out there? Anyway, so he's over all those, and you could work with Mr. Jackman to maybe, and Crystal, she's our business manager, just to report some of the student body funds to the board so they know.
But it's fun to hear what's going on.
Yeah, money's not always.
We don't have kids at high school, sometimes we don't hear all of it.
That's true.
So it's
Sometimes
fun.
even if you do, you don't hear.
So it's fun to hear what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keeping it in the family, Mr. Sapp?
Okay.
Mrs. Cleve is here with me. I sent a presentation to Megan. I don't know if you guys can pull it up on the. You got it, okay. Well, then I have to look at it on the phone, so, because I forgot all that I wrote on there. So last year, Tracy and I both did baseball and softball as a club sport at the middle school level. And we have asked what it takes to get it to be sanctioned by the school. And the first step in the past has always been, first you have to be a club sport, and then you have to show that kids actually want to do this, right? Well, we had well over 20 boys playing baseball, and Tracy had, when it started, almost 40 girls out for middle school softball. So I think she paid for her own uniforms and stuff like that out of her own pocket. I luckily had uniforms that I bought in the past for summer baseball that we've used. So just getting financial help from the school running this would be ideal. Softball played in 10 games last year as a middle school team. That was during the middle school season where there's track and tennis, and I think that's it for middle schoolers. So it would be another spring sport that middle school kids would have the option to play. Baseball played in 4 games, but that's because we got in at the end of the year. I sent you a list of schools that are doing either, middle school softball or middle school baseball or both. And all around the valley, we have tons and tons of teams. Our schools putting teams out for these kids. Even as far as Burns has been coming to travel and playing in middle school sports. And Burns is in our league. Vale, I know, is working on getting it implemented this year, so they have middle school baseball and softball. Last year, middle school softball and baseball both practiced at the conclusion of the high school sporting team sanctioned practice. So usually they would get on, it would be after 6 always for us, for the middle school boys. And they would start in the soccer field. And then as soon as we were done on the baseball field, they would hop on the baseball field. And I think that it was pretty much the same thing for softballs. By sanctioning the sport at the school level, it curtails the cost of participating both for students and for the coaches. Baseball and softball are 2 of the most expensive sports for kids to participate in. Cleats, bats, gloves, all these things are not cheap. If you would like us to, we could survey and see how many kids would be interested in doing this. I know that I'm not going to have much less than 25 boys interested in middle school baseball, and I'm quite sure it'd still be over 30 middle school girls. Did you have anything else?
No, just I've already kind of checked back with some of the teams that we played last year. Baker and Fruitland both have their sanctions through the schools, and then in talking with Mr. Cleaver, it sounds like we could play, the rest of them, whether they're still club or not. So the ones that it sounds like he's listed in there, we've already kind of checked in to make sure it's still a go for everybody, and it would just be nice to take that out of our personal checkbooks, as well as our jerseys were shirts that he had left over from years past, and we just threw numbers on the back. But kind of just reiterating the same thing. It's, you guys all have kids. Most of them played sports, and it's money. And we couldn't obviously help with cleats and gloves and things like that. But being both the high school coaches, it just feeds into our program, and it's pretty silly not to keep it going as hard as we can. So it'd be nice to have it through the school.
And,
Question.
yeah.
How much are you hoping for to be set aside from the budget for this endeavor?
I would say just a coaching stipend. I don't know as far as equipment goes. They'll use the same equipment that the high school uses, and we've fundraised for that, so we have no problem sharing, because who's going to play high school baseball? The kids that are playing middle school baseball, right?
Have we ever had a middle school baseball or softball team?
For softball, it was the first year last year for anybody in the valley, and basically that kind of came on the heels of baseball had been going for 4 years. And so I kind of let him know this is happening when you get in on it, and that's why they got in fairly late. But baseball's been playing a little bit longer, than we have in the valley. We just started last year and again had,
No, but Nyssa's never had a team.
last year was our first year, yeah. And it was just, I paid for the fee and he gave us shirts to wear as jerseys, everything else they got on their own dime.
I apologize, umpires would also be an expense, like the officiating, which,
Lessons.
yeah, if we're gonna do it during school time, absolutely, but so far they've only played on the weekends that I know.
Does it go through the summer?
No.
Into school?
Our games were April 2nd through April 30th. So they were just Saturdays, 2 games each Saturday. Transportation is huge. I'm here and I'm aware of how rough transportation is right now for all of our sports anyway. So adding 2 more, I realize is difficult, but you know, if there's a chance that could help us out with that a little bit, that would be awesome.
How many of the teams that you played were sanctioned? I
Um,
mean, is there any, there's no problem going between teams that are and aren't sanctioned?
No, there's not. It's like any different. Middle school sports, we try to follow the IHSA rules and the OSA rules, and really the only middle school rule that we require that anybody follows, technically, is they have a physical every 2 years. I mean, that's generally the only ORS rule that we have to follow at the middle school level.
So by going sanctioned, you're not gonna lose any of those teams that you played then?
No, there's no, like we play charter schools in Idaho that aren't full public members, right? Same deal in Oregon. There's people that have club teams in Oregon that don't, you know, and for different sports that we're still allowed to participate with them at the middle school level, but not at the high school level. You can't do it. They have to be a sanctioned entity at the high school level.
which I think for softball is coming, honestly. Baker and Fruitland were the only 2 that were school teams last year. The first time Baker showed up in the bus, I was like, what are we gonna do now? So, you know, it obviously is a really helpful thing. I think New Plymouth, Harma, McCall would be shortly thereafter if we were able to kind of lead the way with getting it in the schools, but we can still play all the teams we played and then some.
So the schools that are listed here, are they both baseball and softball?
So, like Marsing is working, like a couple of them are doing the same thing that we're doing right now. They're trying to get it implemented in their school, and they're either one, the other, both, or none, right? They're in the same process that we're at. So it would just depend on which school that you're asking about.
Can I interject something? I think one of the things why you're seeing this trend in middle school athletics, specifically around baseball and softball, is just 2 reasons. Number one is the cost, right? Let's just be fair, right? And there tend to be 2 levels. There's been a rec league like we played in the summer, for example, like which is a youth group, and then there's also been moved into what we consider Legion ball or travel ball, where kids go to more elite teams, right? And I think teams have seen that those 2 models don't necessarily grow a competitive program. They're not a good feeder program for a school because, for example, at a baseball level or softball level, you might have 3 kids that are playing on a travel team, but then you have another 15 kids that have 0 softball or baseball experience when they enter high school. And so it's been really detrimental. So I think schools are looking at it going, it's got to be a sport where just because of how it's set up in terms of gear being expensive and things like that, whereas if you have a school program, then not everybody has to go out and buy a bat. So this $300 bat gets shared among 9 players, right, versus 1 kid. Or if you have a glove that, hey, you don't have to buy a first baseman's glove, right, because it's shared among the whole group, or 8 catchers, mid, or so it really takes the cost and reduces it to have the whole program, and it goes towards a group of kids. So that's why I look at it as a middle school AD going. This kind of makes sense because then we're able to offer it to our kids that may or may not be able to participate normally. Because you're not going to drive to Caldwell every weekend, you know, and play in a softball or baseball team. It's just cost prohibitive for the majority of our families.
It is typical for us to have feeder programs for all the high school programs that we have. Now we don't have, not every sport does have a feeder sponsored, school-sponsored feeder program. Like soccer, we don't have at the middle school right now.
Yeah.
So if that came on, that would, you know, would be additional, but
These are really the 3 sports we don't, I mean, you hit it right there. The only 3 we currently don't have as a feeder program are baseball, softball, and soccer.
And golf, but I'm not sure if golf is a club sport or a school sport.
So anyway, those are the only 3 that we currently as a team sport don't have.
we pay a stipend. So.
We have individuals.
Do you have a question?
I do have a little comment. I'm actually a great track fan, but if you remember at the middle school, we implemented tennis like 5 or 6 years ago. Have you seen what a difference that's made at the high school now? And all the high schoolers are participating in a sport who were not involved before.
Right.
And I'm guessing this might have the same effect at the high school.
I hope so.
So Crystal, do you have a ballpark figure of what a middle school sport would cost? Like a stipend? I mean,
Well, I'm assuming a head coach and an assistant coach for both.
well, and some umpires and
Depends on
some
numbers, right?
busing.
Well, the middle school coach is generally about 27 to 3,000 for a head coach, right? Isn't that about the right?
I think so, and I know it just depends on our scale is by years of experience, so it depends on who's coaching.
And then umpires is about $100 a game for 2 umpires. And generally, we wouldn't host probably more than about 4 games because every school wants people to come, right? And hopefully we can get some facilities going and have it like concessions and stuff like that where you get this cost of these things back. So.
I think a couple things that I thought I had about both was, not to interrupt the guys, is like the idea that we don't charge admission for many of our spring activities, right? Which really is a difficult thing, but the idea if we could get an exception where someone could collect that to help offset some of the costs for the officials, I think that's important. Traditionally, when we've added sports, we've only added one coach, one paid position, and kind of say, you need more than that, ride the volunteer train, right, until you prove that you need it. And that's kind of what was always asked, that if you, when they approached me last year, I'm like, hey, here's the deal. The model is you have to club this and show that there's a need, right? And show that there's going to be sustainability, just like we did with tennis at the middle school level. And eventually we added Bobby as a coach, remember, and now we've added an assistant tennis coach because the middle school numbers are just as big as the high school numbers now at the middle school level for tennis. So that's kind of the way I would see it happening. Like, you wouldn't necessarily look at saying having 2 coaches. I would say, not to say sucks for you guys, but in all reality, that's been the model that's been followed, right? But I do think there's some things cost-wise that even could be across the high school level that we could help collectively collect that money. Because we currently don't charge for high school baseball or high school softball, which in all reality, if we did, that would help offset probably a lot of the additional costs that's being added. And that doesn't have to be significant. It could be our normal fees and still collect, a couple $100 a game, right? Just as a thought.
Do we have that one?
Well, that's what you currently do with Legion right now.
This is new. I think it's probably, you can do what you'd like as a board. I would like more study on it. And just additional time to look into it. Great idea. I love it.
I mean, it's just the logical intermediate piece, right? You guys know what I do at the younger kids level and back at the high school program, and it's something I'm gonna do regardless. I mean, even if it comes back out of our pocket this year, we just play in the club again because there are most of those teams going to do that. But it's something I'm going to do regardless because I'm not very good at saying no.
This will save the Cleavers a lot of money because you guys do put a lot into the program, time and money, and we do. That is very highly appreciated and noticed.
Well, and I would say, I know for sure that the softball, I can't speak for baseball, but I know softball is huge. I mean, the work that Jesse did with some of the younger girls that were going into middle school, they love the game. They want to play, and they are so excited to be on a middle school team too. So this is only going to continue to grow. So it would have my full support, but yeah, we need to talk about expenses and things like that. So I think you can give us a little time. That'd be great.
A proposed budget, and Crystal, can you?
I can probably put one together, just having a conversation with Travis after this.
Crazy.
And I'll email it to Darren.
If we want to do something, I would like to be able to do it right and to build it and not just have, throw something out that's one and done.
Right.
Type thing.
And starting now, we'll hopefully have it taken care of by spring.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
I'm
for
not
your
going
presentation.
anywhere.
We'll let you know. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yep.
guys.
No, sorry. No. Sorry, not sorry.
So mine is dealing with physical facilities use. And as most of you know, I'm a rule follower. And so I went through the policies, and my wife was coaching, they're done now, I believe. A first grade, second grade soccer team. They had, I believe, 11 kids, all from the elementary school. There was two two groups that age, so there's 22 first and second graders. There were 2 teams for third and fourth graders, and then there's 2 teams for the fifth and sixth grades. So roughly there's about 70 to 80 elementary students who were signed up to play soccer through Payette, since it's cheaper. And so my wife said, well, where do we practice? I said, well, practice at the soccer fields. If the soccer team shows up, get out of their way, because that's their field. And so we did that, and one day I got a approach and said, did you fill out a facility use? And I said, I didn't know I needed to. So I filled one out, turned it in, and a couple weeks later I get a response and it says, sorry, you can't use the soccer fields. Which I informed all the other coaches not to use them, so they stopped using them. I received an email stating the reasons why, which I don't fully agree with, because they said I don't have a liability use insurance to use it, but I can use the fields right over here next to the district office. To me, they're both district grounds, so technically I would need that, but according to the policy, it doesn't say we need that. So a couple weeks go by and I get another email that says we can now use them. And so I'm coming to you because I'm confused of, are we allowed to use them? Are we not allowed to use them? I understand that the game fields are reserved for games. Those are special fields. I understand that the soccer fields are still being worked on. I mean, we had our soccer boys out there for about 15 minutes pulling crabgrass one night, and they looked at me, they're like, why are you making us do this? I said, because look at it. And we picked up this huge pile, and they said, wow. The next week when we played the game, they're like, wow, this looks a lot better than the little crabgrass. I was like, yeah, you take care of your field, you help out, and people notice it. And so with that, I just don't understand, looking at the policy, it says it's for the community. I know we don't regulate the tennis courts. We don't regulate the kids out here. They come and use it. They come and go. So that's my concern with it. But with that, I talked to Mr. Cleaver and asked if we could start a club soccer team for the middle school. I feel we're losing our kids from rec in 7th and 8th grade. They don't have a soccer game. They don't have a soccer team. And so when they come as a freshman, do I play soccer or do I just not do anything because I'm 2 years out of a sport? And so I guess my other question is would you allow us to have a club soccer team at the middle school starting next fall?
So we have 2 questions. One about a club soccer team and
Yep.
the other about facilities.
Facilities.
Should we talk about facilities first?
What's that policy number?
KG.
KG what?
KG.
That's it?
KG. And then KGAR. And the AR says which facilities must be requested, which are all in buildings, not the ground itself.
So what organization is it through, Chris? Is it a pay at
It's
rec?
Pay at Rec,
Pay at rec.
which they have no liability insurance, and
Is it
so
all?
nope. And all the coaches are volunteers and assume all responsibility. And according to the policy, it says the district takes no liability for persons using grounds, assumes no liability at all.
Well, that's easy to put on a piece of paper in a policy. I know attorneys can.
And if you want, we can get every kid to sign, their parents to sign a paper saying a waiver. If we
Well,
need.
it's not just kids, it's the families who visit while practice is going on,
Mhm.
games. So the issue for us mainly, and I think Jesse and I have worked on, is the main competition soccer field,
Mhm.
which is adjacent to the baseball, the right field line of the baseball. So that's the competition field. It was under construction. We were working with, just for information for the board, and Jesse could probably speak to it better, but the sprinkler system was irregular patterns and the grass was spotty at best. And as you know, this was an extremely hot summer, patchy, there was some patchy grass. I don't know about the dirt. I know Jesse's been working on the dirt to make sure that
I will tell you, the Weezer girls said our field looked phenomenal
okay.
compared to theirs.
Well,
And they're not far off.
it's all relative, right?
No, but that's, so,
So we have burden of community groups. There's a lot of groups that get together on the weekends and play, and they want to be in that field. And Jesse, I authorized Jesse to say, hey, for now, this field is closed. There are other available locations to play. But this field right now is a high school competition field. We don't open our basketball court to just any old community person or whatever. We do open it sometimes to youth organizations agreed upon. But wrestling, we do the same thing with Point to Mr. Cleaver with wrestling. So we want to be able to partner with community members, but there also needs to be some understanding back and forth that sometimes these fields are competition and they are under construction. So for a time. The other thing is, I thought that Pay at Rec required or had insurance liability for things like that. I thought that was part of it. So that's why I believe we offered other fields to use.
Yeah.
So that's news.
I was at the meeting and they said
that's news to
there's
us.
no insurance.
Because we do require insurance, liability insurance of other organizations that use our facility.
Yeah.
But we've often, I'll have to check the attorney in past practice, because we do want our community to use these facilities, but the city has facilities too. And so I've spoken with the city manager about what his plans are and what they're doing. And sometimes their fields aren't maintained very well, so ours are better. Jesse, I think we had an issue with, okay, so you can't use our competition soccer field, but people drag our goals, or we put the goals elsewhere and they drag them back to our competition field. I don't know all the story. It's been a long saga.
So if they were moved back to the game field, that was done by the soccer team.
We're talking about a weekend adults and therefore everybody else
Because
is using it too.
I know
So
the boys and girls shared a field, and then
in the same way,
we moved
want
some
to
over
have
so they could.
competition. We want to have strong programs that feed into strong programs in the high school. We're not a sports organization, but sports does bring pride. It does bring a certain a pride to our community, and it helps kids be tied to school, to do well in school because they like their sports. And so we want to have competitive programs. And so the school has cooperated in the past, and we want to continue to do that. But we ask for understanding from the community as well.
Absolutely.
To say, hey, we get it. We're not going to get chased off of here forever, but for this summer, maybe so.
And like I said,
elsewhere.
If the high school shows up, just move out of the way and go somewhere else. And I'm pretty sure there was never a conflict. When the high school showed up, they just moved on.
But I don't think you understand, or I don't mean just you, I mean a lot of people don't understand the pressure that community groups put. And these are not organized groups, they're just people that want to play soccer.
Right.
And we want them to play soccer, but they were not very respectful of Jesse or our fields. And so we were trying to protect the fields for a time.
Right.
And so anyway, we don't want to go to war with our community. We want to be partners, but there needs to be some understanding both ways.
So was the main reason that it was under construction?
Yes, the grass was patchy and we were fixing the sprinkler patterns.
Has it been fixed?
It affected our high school. Travis Sapp was here. It affected high school baseball for a while, or summer league baseball for a while too. So there was a few conflicts. We're not trying to cause problems for people. We want our kids and our community to enjoy these facilities, but there's a lot of pressure on them, and there has to be downtime too to be able to maintain. So I don't know if you want to say anything, Jesse.
Well, when we come in last summer, we ran into 28 consecutive days with over 100-degree weather. Those fields, that pump did not turn off, it hasn't turned off, running 24 hours. And we were able to isolate that pump just for that complex. We've done soil samples, we've done, we're trying to break down the soil so that the water, the moisture gets in there. So my goal is to be able to say, guys, we have a beautiful lawn, beautiful campus, have at it. But today, we still need to have that recovery process. We have to be able to build, and we gotta let our lawns heal. Right, you go out there right now, Weezer did say it looks a lot better, but if you guys go out there right now,
there's spots.
The way I look at it today, we got a game against Mac High
Friday.
Probably potentially play for first place, and I wish that soccer field looked like our football field. It will, but it's not there today. Even our practice fields. We were able to break away the baseball from the soccer field so that we could give more water and run time to our soccer complex. It is under construction this year. My goal is to have it all completed, and it's the most beautiful lawn that we have on campus. We have spent a lot of money on soil samples, testing, treating on that complex. The ground itself wasn't the best.
We appreciate your hard work. Yes, do you have a question?
So I guess my question in all of this is, what is the rule then? Is elementary, is it just this year that they're not allowed because it was damaged, and like years going forward, kind of what is the policy? Because it's very, I guess, vague because we didn't have the liability or whatever, like what going forward for continuing years.
We will have to check that policy. But as far as the district has the right, I mean, if we do sign, if our administration signs and Jesse signs the facility use request, then you're authorized to use it, right? So the policy is a facility use request. And so we do have to have that. I'll have to check into with our legal counsel regarding insurance, because even if we do have kids or parents sign a waiver saying, hey, we're not going to sue the district if my kid steps in a hole and breaks their ankle or whatever the case may be, we have families, we have friends visiting they didn't sign anything, right? So anyway, I'm going to have to check with legal counsel.
So with that, my question then, the kids playing basketball in the court here, do they have that liability release in case they get hurt on the basketball court or the tennis courts?
Well, with that,
would that be the same, or
with that statement, we could lock down the entire complex, I guess, to avoid any liability. I guess we could do it that way. So,
well, is there not a difference between an organized and just, an organized team?
No, I think it's great that the community can use the facilities. I'm not saying let's lock it down and kick everybody out. I just think it should be evenly.
But if it's a team sport, they should need to fill out a request.
Organized activities need to fill out requests, yes. Kids who gather on an evening or summer, whatever.
Question. The field over here by the elementary school, I don't know if that's that direction. Yes. Is that unlocked on the weekends? Or are those fences and gates locked?
It's unlocked.
They're unlocked.
There's 2 soccer goals there, and then there's 2 soccer goals at the South Park.
So it would be acceptable that a team such as this might be able to use that grass instead?
Correct.
Absolutely, we encourage that. So it seems like a big field out here, but if you get some larger kids, they'll kick the ball into the highway over the fence. So that's why it's not like. But if it's younger kids, that's a perfectly acceptable field for younger kids because they don't kick as hard. It doesn't kick Stuns lumber, Munoz lumber, right?
Sure.
So.
And then, Chris, are you looking for boys and girls soccer for the commission to have a club?
We are looking for both if possible.
But mostly boys, or
It would be both. Well, we'd like to have them separated, and we'd contact Weiser and Fruitland, Payette, all those teams that we currently play at the high school level, to see if we could field a
Group.
group.
Find out if they do have a group similar to. We got a statement from softball, baseball here
Right.
about the teams.
I haven't looked into it yet,
If you
but
could,
that is
would be helpful.
our plan, because our seasons are ending, and so we would like to prepare for next year before next year shows up.
We'll look into it maybe and also come back with a ballpark for how much it would cost.
So I believe club is all volunteer the first year, so
Okay.
I talked to the girls coach and they said they would be willing to work on a team. We'd have to figure out a schedule because currently we travel 2 weekends overnight. So finding a day that doesn't conflict with football and volleyball, but I think those sports are still very valid for those age groups until we have a fully sanctioned team. So.
thank you. We'll get back to you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, Dr. Johnson, you have your superintendent's report.
So I have a little bit of a packet, if you all received the packet from me in here on the superintendent's report. Just an update on number one, I will meet the ODE on Wednesday, this week, day after tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some findings for us and begin that process. I certainly will share with you the results of that meeting. Number two, it's an OSBA fall regional dinner where school board members and superintendents are invited to attend. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. at Mountain ESD if you'd like to attend.
That's next Monday.
It is. Yes, so please let me know so I can RSVP to that. It is tri-tip dinner, so.
You would like me here at 5:30?
Yeah, we can drive over. I could arrange for a vehicle to transport us all together if you'd like.
Those meetings are very valuable.
In addition to the information you gain from Salem, from representatives of OSBA out of Salem, you also have a chance to network and meet school board members from other districts. And it's sometimes nice to just meet them and share stories to help each other.
And they're supposed to be discussing a lot of potentially legislative and budgetary issues, which that knowledge is very helpful.
Yes. So, superintendent goals are on a sheet behind you. You can see those. I know the board had asked for me to present those to you, and so I think at this point, rather than go into detail, I'd let you look at those and you can have discussion as you would see fit. The Division 22 report is the stapled colored sheet. It's several pages. It is an annual requirement. There is a form in the regular packet that Megan Glenn had given you. It's an email that I asked to be on the board meeting. We have to have this presented in the October board meeting. And then on the back side of that email, it shows it goes from the first page to the back. So by November 1st, I report to the local school board that we are in compliance in all standards under Division 22. Turning the page, school districts will post the community report to our website, so this will be posted on our website as soon as we can. Our technology director was out of school today, not feeling well. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow, but this week we'll get this posted. And then I have to complete by November 15th an assurance form to the Oregon Department of Education, so I will do that. Just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. You can look through it at your leisure. Lauren Sapp already presented. We're really looking forward to having her at our meetings, our student body president, recently elected student body president. And I believe Mr. Jackman said on target to be a valedictorian as well, so that's quite an accomplishment. Pretty impressive young lady. And then the HB 4030 grant, I had shared this a little bit with you the other night. It's the teacher retention and recruitment grant that we have received for just this school year. Oregon recognizing that there are challenges to recruiting teachers in many of our instances. I'm looking, Mr. Klieger's still here, there's Mr. Jackman, Mr. Murray. There were many instances of only one candidate, and for several of our positions, it went for quite a while before we got a candidate to apply. So we are hoping to create, I've met multiple times with the committee, a district committee, to figure out how to spend this money. Mrs. Morinaka has graciously consented to be on that with us. It's been some really great discussions, I think. And the amount is there, and that budget is shared with you here, so that you can see some, oh, excuse me. Yeah, on that sheet that I gave you. The next thing is a student investment account, Student Success Act, it's also called. So we'll be having some community meetings here pretty soon this month to discuss. This is what we are proposing that it be budgeted on this grid that you see in the handout. Currently, we have been able to, we are currently very well staffed in our district, but it is a concern going forward. I'm looking at Crystal. She's our conscience in all things budgetary and in many other ways. We appreciate her thoughtfulness and attention to all of that. So we are required to engage our community in hearing, at least notifying them what our proposed expenditures are, continuation, and if there's any input on that. And then, just for the school board, I don't know how many of you know that it is National School Lunch Week this week. So we're encouraging our school board members to come on down and have school lunch. Crystal, you want to say anything about school
Is there a
lunch?
certain day or time?
Wednesday's the best.
Yeah, they're all good. No.
Oh, they're all good, but Wednesday's really good.
I think, you know, they serve in every building, so if you want times.
Just arrange with me or the
So
principal.
do we need to
So we
pick
need all
rankings
three of
first?
them.
You could hit all three if you wanted. There you
So
go.
what day, Monday, Tuesday?
Yeah.
You can all show up together if you'd like. I already like
No,
that.
I think that they'd really like that. That'd be really nice if you guys stop by. And...
It's $5 for a full lunch, but you know we could figure it out.
Unless you know your lunch number, Roger says.
Oh.
Your lunch number.
What's your lunch
Unless
number?
we know Roger's lunch number.
Mr. Henry, that's great. Anyway, just wanted to let you all know.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Johnson on any of this? Okay, Ms. Rudeau?
Yes, so tonight I,
Just read.
Yeah, afterwards. I had after.
Oh, after.
should I sit back down? No. Okay, sorry, I was excited. So tonight I have financials for the board presented through September, the end of September. And as we quickly look at the general fund, the packets, revenue that came in for the month of September was $1,188,000, and our expenditures were $1,183,000. So pretty much what we brought in, we shipped right back out. But no real surprises. We did pay our first My Tech High bill this month. I got numbers right before the meeting, 146 students enrolled in that. So that is in the approval of the bills report that I also have for you tonight. Our middle school bond fund is up to a little over $64,000. We'll see a nice deposit in the month of November, because that's when everyone pays their taxes. And we're just building that fund because we have a debt service payment coming up in December. I think it's right around $100,000. Our early Head Start fund ended the month a little over $36,000. I know Cindy, the program supervisor, she's working hard with the families. I don't think we have anyone currently on the employment-related daycare program. It's additional revenue from DHS that comes in, so I know she's working to try to get families to apply and get approved for that, because that really helps that program. So they ended a little over 36. And then unfortunately, I just didn't have enough time to get food service numbers to you before Megan handed out packets last week. So I have them for you tonight. Food service ended the month of September a little over $44,000. So it was a really good month, and numbers looked really good. We added snacks this month to the elementary. I believe they're coming. We will start serving snacks to the middle school and high school in the month of October if they already haven't started. I'm not sure. So that just increases our revenue. So. And then after that is the approval of the bills. Everything that was paid out from September 2nd to October 4th is when I ran it. And then after that is our payroll report for the month of September. Only other thing I wanted to mention is my office, we are having our fiscal year 22 audit starting on Wednesday with the auditor. So if you need me, I will be available next week, I'm assuming. So that's what's on our agenda this week, the audit. Should be great. You're welcome.
You don't sound excited about it.
I'm so excited about it. No, it'll be fine. It's just a lot of work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to let you all know that I was appointed by Peter Weber of the OSAA to be on their EAB board, to be a board member representative from our area, on their EAB board, which is Eligibility Appeals Board. It meets typically once a month if there is a case to be heard. So anyway, I'm on it for a year or so.
Okay, next is the consent agenda. If you'd all like to take a look at that, and if anybody have any questions before we approve of it. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, motion has carried. There's no old business. So we'll on to the new business. We had a vacancy for a position number 2 board member. We did conduct some interviews. Would someone like to make a motion to nominate someone?
I would first of all like to say that we had 4 very, very good candidates apply. And they all had excellent qualities, very good, they're just good candidates. So with that being said, my personal feeling is that I would like to recommend that the board select Maribel Ramirez to fill this position.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, let's vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion is carried. You guys will take care of
We will
notifying her. Okay. Next is Division 22, Dr. Johnson.
I covered that in my superintendent's report.
Alrighty. It looks like the policy updates will be talked about at a later time.
First of all, we move those into the board study.
Okay, we'll move those into a board study. Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to add before we adjourn? Any questions?
I have something
Okay.
I'm a parent of 2 high school students. I've actually had the pleasure of speaking with several people here. It's in regards to bullying, and I understand that we are finally going to be helping our kids.
Could you state your name?
My name is Wendy
Wendy.
Gamble.
Okay, thank you. Please
Sorry.
speak up for our records.
I have 2 children that are now both in high school, but I also have been dealing with bullying I've had to be a voice I have 7 children. So I am been a voice for many of my kids, and one of my children I've had to deal with bullying on a level of getting other police involved to help. But here I've noticed that bullying is starting to get out of control, and I have noticed, and I'm now starting to hear that it's starting to get helped and it's starting to get handled, that we're going to start helping our kids to see the signs of bullying, and we're going to help parents and staff members to recognize that. That is great, but there's only one problem. With bullying, we have suicide. Suicide is ranked the number 2 in death in kids between the ages of 15 to 24. Not only do we have the problem with bullying, we're going to help our kids, but how are we going to put the stop to the bullying? Because it can't be done. We can tell the bullies to stop. We can tell them to stop. We can tell them to stop. It's not going to stop. I did speak with Mr. Ballou. There is a town in Idaho. It's Kuna, Idaho. They have a law in place that is an anti-bully law. It is in place to help children that are being bullied. It's to make parents accountable to see that their children are doing it, because there are some people that believe, oh, it's just kids being kids. No, it's time to stop it's just being kids. It's time to start making people accountable for their children's actions by looking at maybe going with the same thing of looking at an infraction for it. My son was a middle school student when it happened to him. 3 boys were being bullied by 3 other boys being beamed with pine cones. These 3 bullies have been at it for over 3 weeks. Finally, I went into the school and I said, need to know what's going on, what is happening, why are these kids doing this? The resource officer informed me that he didn't know that that was happening because somebody hadn't been telling him. He went out, he'd already addressed 2 weeks prior with these 2 other boys. He went out and got the other kids the next day, or that day afternoon when he went back to work, and he went to their homes. He gave them infraction tickets of $45. It gets delivered to the house, to the parents, and the parents for the kids under age of 17 down are then responsible because it now has to be repaid by the adults. And it's the adults' responsibility to see that the bullying is stopping. It can't be just on your guys' level. I have my kids in sports. I have watched other kids here in sports. Our teachers are not babysitters. They're here to teach our kids. They're here to be mentors to our children. They're not babysitters. They're not daycare providers. Yeah, they can try to stop the bullying, but they're not going to be at every corner. So it's something that needs to be done to stop the bullies. And this is something that I would like to have you guys look at because we can tell them to stop, but that's not going to stop. We need to make accountability back at home and not leave it in your guys' laps, not in Cleaver's lap, Carlton's lap, Sapp's lap, Miss White's lap. It's not their responsibility. We need to go back to where it needs to be accountable. And I would just like to see if that is something that could be looked into for bullies.
Thank you.
This is a good point you bring up, and I think the best point, personally, if you're looking at something similar to what June is doing, is because it's the city council that's one that actually establishes the city ordinances within the city.
Then next.
Yeah, good. If you're on that list, I would say bring that up there. I agree.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, if there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Yes, exactly.